Welcome to today's Lost Souls, where we bring you the most impactful and unforgettable stories from around the world. Today, we remember the lives of remarkable individuals whose legacies continue to inspire and resonate. From iconic musicians to trailblazing activists, join us as we celebrate their extraordinary contributions and bid farewell to those who have left an indelible mark on our lives. Stay tuned for a journey through their incredible stories.
Dame Joan Plowright. Dame Joan Plowright left behind a legacy that stretched across theatre, film, and television, a life devoted to the power of storytelling and the evolution of British drama. Passed away at the age of 95. Revered as one of the most accomplished actresses of her time, Joan wasn't just a performer, she was a cultural icon whose career spanned over 6 decades. Born in Lincolnshire, England, in 1929, Joan developed a love for acting early in life. She studied at the prestigious Old Vic Theatre School, where she honed her craft with the intensity and passion that would define her work. Her breakthrough came in the 1950s with her stage performances at London's Royal Court Theatre, where she helped pioneer a new wave of British realism. Critics quickly took notice. She wasn't merely reciting lines, she was breathing life into characters, inhabiting them with a depth few could match. It was on the stage that she met the legendary Laurence Olivier, and their relationship would become one of the most notable unions in British theatre history. Though often referred to as Lady Olivier after their marriage, Joan remained fiercely independent and determined to establish her own reputation. She succeeded. From her acclaimed performance in The Entertainer to her touching role in Enchanted April, Joan transitioned from stage to screen with remarkable grace. Throughout her career, she portrayed queens and commoners, mothers and mystics, always with nuance, wit, and emotional clarity. Her eyes, often filled with quiet strength, could tell entire stories in a single glance. Her voice, at once delicate and commanding, held audiences spellbound whether in front of the camera or under the glow of stage lights. Offstage, Dame Joan was known for her warmth, humor, and fierce intellect. She advocated for arts education, mentored young actors, and carried herself with the dignity befitting her status as a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire, a title she was awarded for her services to drama. Despite vision loss later in life, which ended her acting career, Joan remained a vocal supporter of the theatre world. Her impact lives on not only in her performances, but in the countless artists she inspired. She once said, "The theatre was my life, my love, my sanctuary." And in return, the theatre loved her back, eternally. Dame Joan Plowright's passing marks the end of an era, but her spirit endures in the timeless characters she brought to life and the generations she influenced with grace, tenacity, and profound talent. Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth II was not only the longest-reigning monarch in British history but also a symbol of stability, grace, and enduring public service. Passed away at the age of 96. Her death marked the end of an extraordinary era, one that witnessed immense transformation in both Britain and the world. For over 70 years, Queen Elizabeth reigned with a quiet strength that earned her the respect and affection of millions across the globe. Born Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor on April 21, 1926, she never expected to become queen. But after the unexpected abdication of her uncle, King Edward VIII, her father ascended the throne as King George VI, placing Elizabeth directly in line. At just 25 years old, following her father's passing in 1952, she took on the weighty role of monarch, and did so with unshakable devotion. Her coronation in 1953 was the first to be televised, and it marked the beginning of a new, modern monarchy. Over the decades, she guided the British monarchy through wars, political upheavals, cultural revolutions, and national tragedies. Through it all, she remained a calm and steady presence, delivering annual Christmas messages that became cherished traditions and standing tall during times of crisis with words that brought comfort. While many monarchs throughout history ruled with power or pageantry, Elizabeth reigned with duty. She completed over 21,000 public engagements, met with 15 British prime ministers, and became a trusted figure among world leaders. Her diplomacy, discretion, and dedication made her not only the head of state for the United Kingdom but also a unifying figure for the Commonwealth, a community of more than 50 nations. Behind the crown, however, she was also a wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Her marriage to Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, lasted over 70 years until his passing in 2021. Their enduring partnership was one of mutual respect and love, and their shared sense of humor and support helped sustain her through countless royal responsibilities. Even as society rapidly changed around her, Queen Elizabeth managed to adapt the monarchy without losing its essence. She allowed greater media access, embraced technology, and supported causes close to the public's heart. In moments of national mourning or joy, her presence was a steady beacon, a reminder of heritage, resilience, and continuity. Her passing left a nation in grief and a world in reflection. Tributes poured in from across the globe, praising her unmatched legacy and unwavering spirit. As the sun sets on her historic reign, her impact remains eternal, a monarch who ruled not just with a crown, but with compassion, wisdom, and a deep sense of duty. Laurence Olivier passed away at the age of 82. Sir Laurence Olivier was more than just a towering figure in the world of acting. He was a force of nature, a master of the stage and screen whose influence shaped modern theater and inspired generations of performers. Passed away at the age of 82, from the commanding presence he brought to Shakespearean tragedies to the subtle genius in his cinematic performances, Olivier's legacy is one of unparalleled artistry and ambition. Born on May 22, 1907, in Dorking, Surrey, England, Laurence Olivier was seemingly destined for greatness. His father was a clergyman, strict and traditional, yet young Laurence discovered an early passion for drama. At the tender age of 10, he stunned audiences with a school production of Julius Caesar, and it was clear even then that he had a gift. By the 1930s, Olivier had become a rising star of the British stage. His Shakespearean roles, Hamlet, Othello, Henry V, were revolutionary. He brought raw emotion, bold interpretation, and psychological depth to parts that had once been considered untouchable. Critics praised him as a prodigy, while audiences were left breathless by his magnetism and command of language. But Olivier wasn't content to remain confined to the stage. He ventured into film and quickly made an impact with performances that brought Shakespeare to the silver screen in ways never seen before. His 1944 film Henry V, which he directed and starred in, was hailed not only as a patriotic wartime morale booster but also as a cinematic masterpiece. He followed it with Hamlet in 1948, which won him an Academy Award for Best Actor and another for Best Picture, a rare achievement for a Shakespearean adaptation. As one of the founding figures of the National Theatre in London, Olivier sought to make classical drama accessible to all. He championed emerging talents, took artistic risks, and remained fiercely dedicated to preserving the power of live performance. His commitment gave rise to a renaissance in British theatre that continues to this day. Olivier's personal life was as dramatic as the roles he played. His marriage to fellow screen legend Vivien Leigh was a famously passionate yet turbulent relationship. Behind the scenes, he battled self-doubt, illness, and the relentless pressure of living up to his own legend. Despite these challenges, Olivier never wavered in his pursuit of excellence. His later film roles in Marathon Man and The Boys from Brazil showcased a new, chilling versatility, proving that age had not dulled his brilliance. He was knighted in 1947, became a life peer in 1970, and received countless honors over his lifetime, but what mattered most to him was the work. Sir Laurence Olivier passed away in 1989, leaving behind a body of work that continues to be studied, admired, and revered. He was not merely an actor, he was a giant of the craft, a pioneer who forever elevated the art of performance. The theater world lost a king, but his legacy remains center stage. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro remains one of the most iconic and influential actors in the history of cinema. With a career spanning over 5 decades, De Niro has left an indelible mark on Hollywood, delivering performances that have become etched into the collective memory of film lovers worldwide. From the explosive volatility of Taxi Driver to the quiet power of The Irishman, his roles reflect not only his immense range but also his deep commitment to the craft of acting. Born on August 17, 1943, in New York City, De Niro was raised in the Greenwich Village neighborhood by artist parents. His exposure to the arts began early, and he was drawn to acting as a young teenager. He dropped out of school at 16 to pursue his dream and trained under some of the greatest acting coaches of the time, including Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg. It was under their guidance that De Niro developed his now famous method acting approach. His big break came in 1973 with Mean Streets, directed by Martin Scorsese. The partnership between De Niro and Scorsese would go on to become one of the most celebrated collaborations in film history. Together, they produced a string of masterpieces: Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, and more, that not only defined the gritty aesthetic of American cinema in the 70s and 80s but also showcased De Niro's transformative performances. In Raging Bull, De Niro gained and lost more than 60 pounds to portray boxer Jake LaMotta, a performance that earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor and became a benchmark for method acting. His portrayal of Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, with the iconic line, "You talkin' to me?" has become one of the most quoted and studied scenes in film history. Beyond his intense roles, De Niro has shown remarkable versatility. He has excelled in comedies like Meet the Parents, dramas such as Awakenings, and political thrillers like The Good Shepherd, which he also directed. He is a founding member of the Tribeca Film Festival, launched in the aftermath of 9/11 to help revitalize Lower Manhattan and celebrate independent filmmaking. Off-screen, De Niro is known for his fierce privacy, yet he has also become a public figure willing to speak out on social and political issues. A father, grandfather, and business entrepreneur, he balances his film career with ventures like the Nobu restaurant chain and luxury hotels. As he continues to act well into his 80s, Robert De Niro remains a living legend, a testament to the enduring power of storytelling and the transformative potential of cinema. His name is synonymous with dedication, intensity, and brilliance. Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman stands as one of the most versatile and emotionally profound actors of his generation. Known for transforming himself completely into the characters he portrays, Hoffman's impact on the film industry is vast, shaping the course of American cinema with performances that are deeply human, raw, and unforgettable. Born on August 8, 1937, in Los Angeles, California, Dustin was not always expected to become a star. In fact, he was considered an underdog in the early stages of his career due to his unconventional looks in a time when Hollywood often favored tall, handsome leading men. But what Hoffman lacked in traditional charm, he more than made up for with an extraordinary depth of talent and an uncanny ability to disappear into roles. He trained at the Pasadena Playhouse and later studied at the prestigious Actors Studio in New York, where his passion for method acting deepened. His big breakthrough came in 1967 with the film The Graduate. Playing the awkward, disillusioned Benjamin Braddock, Hoffman captured the anxieties of an entire generation. The film was not only a box office hit but a cultural milestone, and Hoffman became an overnight sensation. From there, his career took off with a series of powerful performances in films such as Midnight Cowboy, Lenny, and All the President's Men. Hoffman won his first Academy Award for Kramer vs. Kramer, 1979, a heartfelt drama about divorce and fatherhood that resonated deeply with audiences. His performance as Ted Kramer, a man learning to become a better father after being left by his wife, displayed a remarkable vulnerability and emotional range. A decade later, he won his second Oscar for Rain Man, portraying an autistic savant with incredible sensitivity and grace. His portrayal of Raymond Babbitt became one of the most iconic performances in cinema history. Throughout his career, Hoffman has fearlessly taken on complex roles, playing villains, heroes, and deeply flawed individuals, with equal skill. His work in films like Tootsie, where he plays an out-of-work actor who dresses as a woman to get a role, and Wag the Dog, a political satire, showcase his comedic chops and social insight. Beyond acting, Hoffman has also ventured into directing with Quartet, 2012, and remains an advocate for artistic integrity and social justice. Despite controversies and setbacks, his contribution to cinema is undeniable, and he remains an inspiration for actors around the world. Even today, Dustin Hoffman continues to challenge himself and take on new projects, proving that age is no barrier to creativity and passion. He stands as a symbol of resilience, craft, and the enduring power of storytelling. Jeff Probst. Jeff Probst remains one of television's most recognizable and respected figures, thanks to his long-standing role as the host of the legendary reality series Survivor. Known for his commanding presence, quick wit, and ability to manage both drama and humanity in equal measure, Jeff has carved out a legacy that reaches far beyond the island shores of reality TV. Born on November 4, 1961, in Wichita, Kansas, Jeff's journey to fame was not an overnight success. He began his career behind the scenes as a producer and writer for marketing videos. His early days were filled with hustle and passion, skills that would serve him well as he moved into the world of television hosting. By the early 1990s, Jeff was hosting shows on FX, like Backchat, but it was in 2000, when Survivor debuted on CBS, that his life would change forever. Survivor was a groundbreaking concept: drop strangers in remote locations, make them survive with limited resources, and vote each other off one by one. But it wasn't just the format that made it iconic, it was Jeff Probst's dynamic and emotionally intelligent hosting. His signature tribal council interrogations, where he draws out secrets, alliances, and betrayals, became the soul of the show. Week after week, Jeff turned reality competition into a gripping human drama. His role wasn't limited to narration or hosting, he became a psychologist, a referee, and sometimes a moral compass for the castaways. Fans came to appreciate Jeff not just for the drama he managed, but for the compassion and insight he brought to each season. His deep understanding of human behavior and his ability to adapt to each new cast kept the show fresh through decades. Over time, Jeff's involvement in Survivor expanded. He took on roles as executive producer and even helped shape the direction and evolution of the game itself. His innovations, hidden immunity idols, fire-making challenges, and shifting tribe dynamics, breathed new life into a show that could have faded, but instead thrived. Outside of Survivor, Jeff has hosted The Jeff Probst Show, written books aimed at young readers, and directed films. His contributions have been recognized with multiple Emmy Awards for Outstanding Host for a reality or reality competition program. Beyond accolades, what stands out most is Jeff's unwavering dedication to telling authentic stories of resilience, strategy, and the human condition. In a world of fleeting fame and reality TV burnout, Jeff Probst has endured, not just as a host, but as a storyteller, mentor, and icon of the genre. His legacy is tied to millions of moments that played out on isolated beaches and in fiery tribal councils, all under his watchful eye.
Jane Bright. Jane Bright, a name perhaps quiet in the public eye, but monumental in the world of education and science communication, has passed away at the age of 75. Her legacy is not built on headlines or fanfare, but on the countless minds she inspired, the young girls she uplifted, and the clarity she brought to complex corners of science. Born in 1949 in a small Midwestern town, Jane was always a curious child. While others played house, she played laboratory, tinkering, reading, and asking questions that often baffled adults. Her love for learning would lead her to a scholarship at Stanford University, where she studied environmental science at a time when few women dared to tread that path. But it wasn't just science she loved, it was sharing it. Jane believed that knowledge meant little if it wasn't passed on. This belief guided her through a groundbreaking career as a science communicator. She wrote children's books about the stars and the seas, crafted museum exhibits that drew wonder from the young and old alike, and eventually became a beloved figure on educational TV programs that aired on PBS throughout the 80s and 90s. Jane Bright had a way of speaking that made difficult things sound simple and exciting. Her voice carried warmth, her explanations never patronized. To her, science wasn't about answers, it was about the joy of the unknown. And in that joy, she taught generations to look up, dig deep, and never stop asking, why? Behind the camera and bookshelves, Jane was just as extraordinary. She mentored young women in STEM, advocated for environmental justice, and volunteered tirelessly in classrooms and public libraries. She believed in equity, in giving every child the tools and spark to chase wonder, no matter where they came from. In a world often too busy to listen, Jane Bright made people stop and think. She made them imagine. She gave us all permission to be curious again. She may not be a household name, but to every student who learned to love the stars because of her, to every teacher who borrowed her wisdom, Jane Bright was a giant. The world is a little dimmer without her light, but far brighter for all she left behind. Jo Don Baker. Jo Don Baker, the towering Texan whose gravel voice and imposing screen presence made him an unforgettable figure in American cinema, has passed away at the age of 88. Known for his rugged roles and no-nonsense characters, Baker built a legacy as a man's man on screen, but behind the tough exterior was a thoughtful, humble artist who never forgot where he came from. Born on February 12, 1936, in Groesbeck, Texas, Baker grew up in the heartland, raised on the values of hard work, grit, and perseverance. His path to stardom wasn't paved with privilege or shortcuts. After serving in the Army and studying acting at the University of North Texas, Joe Don set his sights on Hollywood with nothing more than raw talent and a deep, unwavering determination. His breakthrough came in 1973 with Walking Tall, where he portrayed real-life Tennessee Sheriff Buford Pusser. The film was a gritty, bloody story of justice, and Baker's performance was unforgettable. He wasn't a polished hero, he was the kind of man you believed had been through hell and was still standing. Audiences connected with his authenticity. Critics praised his intensity. Hollywood took notice. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Baker became a staple of American film and television. From his memorable turn in Charlie Varick alongside Walter Matthau to his scene-stealing appearances in the James Bond films The Living Daylights, GoldenEye, and Tomorrow Never Dies, Baker could play both the villain and the ally with equal power. He was often cast as the heavy, the brute, the lawman, but those who worked with him knew a gentler man off-camera. He was never one for Hollywood's bright lights or gossip columns. Joe Don valued privacy, spending much of his later life away from the public eye. But when he did speak, it was with grace and groundedness. He often said that acting was just telling the truth while pretending, and he lived by that principle on and off the screen. For many, Joe Don Baker embodied a bygone era of filmmaking, when men didn't need capes to be heroes, just conviction. When stories were told in grit, blood, and heart. And Joe Don gave his heart to every frame he ever shot. Now, as the curtains close on a remarkable life, the echoes of his work remain. On film reels, in fans' memories, and in the stories of cinema history, Joe Don Baker will always be standing tall.